What's up, guys? We are back with another NECA Dungeons & Dragons review, and we're taking a look at the good guy this time around. We're taking a look at the other figure in Wave 2. So we've got STRONGHEART on deck today. And just like the rest of this line, these figures, it's ultimate style packaging for NECA. So we've got a really good, really awesome piece of artwork of STRONGHEART there on the front. The spines give us product shots, and then the back gives you a whole write-up of STRONGHEART. You get cross-sell for Zarak in this wave. You get your accessory loadout, as well as some product shots showcasing how he moves and some of the stuff he comes with. But it's ultimate style packaging, so you can pop that flap open, and then you've got a really big product shot on the inside, and then of course you got the big window to see the figure. So yeah, let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our NECA D&D STRONGHEART figure, and we finally get a good guy, right? So we have Grimsword, Warduke, and Zarak, and now we have a good guy to womp on them, and I'm really excited about this guy just for that fact, but I will say that at face value, he's also probably my least interested when it comes to them. He's a regular knight, paladin type of character, but they did some pretty cool stuff with this guy. He is surprisingly more articulated than I would have expected, and it just moves really, really well. So let's see what he can do, see how he moves around, all that good stuff. He's still fairly typical for NECA, and of course, like if you mess with Warduke, he's pretty similar to Warduke, but better. So we've got a head that can look up, and he can look down really, really nicely. You do have tilt side to side. The neck is also independently articulated, and then you've got swivel. The plume on the helmet can swivel, and then the face shield lifts up on the helmet, which is great. You know, you don't need a second head sculpt as a result of that. Our arms go out at the shoulder, so this pauldron piece flexes with the arm, so you don't have to really like move it out of the way. He can rotate, and rotate really, really well. I mean, that's as far as you need, really. You've got a bicep swivel up there. We've got single jointed elbows, but they are better than 90. And then you've got hinges and rotation at your wrist. What's really, really good on this guy, though, is his torso, waist, ab articulation. So he's got a diaphragm cut. And of course, in conjunction with the actual waist itself, he can lean backwards really far. And he can also crunch forward really nicely. You know, he's an armored knight character. I wouldn't have expected much out of him. You've got really, really nice tilt too. You have full swivel at that diaphragm cut as well, and your waist twist. So this guy can move. Like, he has a lot of range just by virtue of having that. Legs go all the way out. You do have the rubbery, you know, armor loincloth piece here, and it doesn't really hinder him too much. You've got slits in the front to allow him to kick forward. You can get it about that far before I start to worry about it. Kick backwards. You do have a thigh twist hidden up in there. We've got NECA style double jointed knees, which is to say it's like that long knee. So you've got a top joint and a bottom joint, and there's that space in between, but it's helpful because he has the knee pads, so it doesn't really bunch up there, and that's about as far back as he goes. They are kind of tight, and they feel slightly ratcheted as well. You do have rotation at these joints as well. You know, it's not like full, you can probably stress it, but they do help with swivel. And then you've got rocker and hinges down at the ankle. Rocker is actually pretty solid, and you actually do have ankle rotation down here as well. So it rotates at the top of the ankle, and then you got your hinge. So he does move really well, in many ways more than I expected. And if anything, that diaphragm cut is a huge, huge surprise, and it just helps overall to make him a lot more posable. Now, as far as the overall look and feel, I think overwhelmingly this guy looks terrific, and there's a nice figure here. I did, of course, say that this is the one I was least interested in, and that's mostly a visual thing too, but that's not necessarily a negative in the sense that I think he looks bad. I just think that Grimsword, Warduke, and Zarak are maybe a little bit more visually interesting to me. This is still just a regular old knight, paladin type of character, and I do like it. And of course, this does fill a specific void in this line so far. It kind of fills a void within like Mythic Legions as well. If you want to move him over that area, they are a little bit, you know, larger than that line. But I think he looks really, really good. The sculpt here is absolutely killer. You've got tons of detail, tons of texture. You've got chainmail for the limbs, but you've got different finishes and different types of quote-unquote metal for the armor. So you've got, you know, more polished, more smooth metal for what would be the torso, and then like the breastplate. You've got your gauntlets, you've got the knee pads, and then of course you've got your chainmail, but there's also, you know, leather goods on top of that. So you've got a leathery loincloth, you've got a big leathery belt, and you have leathery boots that are painted up really nicely to give them some muck and some grime, but also to accentuate the fact that they're supposed to be, you know, leather goods rather than metal. The actual metal itself, quote-unquote metal anyway, is all dirtied up, so there is a wash. There's dry brushing all over it to bring out all of that sculpt and to accentuate that detail, make it look a little bit lived in so that it's not just a suit of armor that he's wearing for the first time. He does obviously have a very specific color scheme, so we're going, dark grays, silvers, and then blue, and I think the color scheme in particular works really, really well in conjunction with this cape because the cape is a nice, bright, vibrant blue. This is the one area of the figure that I think I truly have a negative with, and it's not that I don't like the cape, it's that the wire inside of it does seem to be relatively weak. This is not like the most dynamic thing. Like there is a wire in here, and you can feel it, you can bunch it up just like that, but it doesn't exactly want to do a whole lot, like unless you've got something sort of holding onto it. It's not going to be billowing behind him all that easily, but it does pose, and it is wired. It just feels a little thin, like it's a really, like a high gauge wire or something like that. So I'm not really sure. It does hang pretty decently, as far as neutral, and then you can give it a little bit of a flourish and have it sort of kicking back. But if you want it to like be trailing behind him, that might be a little more difficult based on how it feels to me right now. And then we've got a really nice head up here, and I say that for two specific reasons. The helmet in particular, I really like this design. Above all else, I really like the design on this helmet. So you've got these very angular wings, and then you've got the face shield, and he looks pretty no-nonsense with that face shield down. Got the nice white plume sticking out of it, and it is all dirtied up and washed out with the rest of the armor. But then you've got this like very, very classic hero knight style face underneath with the big bushy eyebrows and the big mustache, but the face is fully painted. You've got some shading on the cheeks a little bit. Eyes are really clean and crisp, and I think he just looks great. So you've got two really solid options here depending on what you want to do without having to need an extra head sculpt. You just pop that shield up, and then you've got, kind of a generic classic knight, but that face does look really good on top of an awesome looking figure. Now for some size comparisons, of course we start with other D&D figures. So we've got Zarak on the left, Warduke on the right, and Zarak is of course a smaller, chunkier figure, but Warduke is going to stack up just fine alongside Strongheart. They're very much, opposites in terms of that regard. They're going to oppose each other, so they are very much the same kind of figure. Grimsword's going to scale bigger. I'm not going to throw him in, but he's a bigger figure. Let's do a Legion's figure, because like I said, surely someone's I'm sure is going to want to do that. So there's a Xylernian Guard, and they're going to scale smaller. Legions are shorter than the D&D line, but I feel like if you wanted, he could be, a commander type of figure, a hero knight among your legions. Let's do a master verse. Here is Faker. They line up pretty well. Let's do an ultimates. Here is Lion-O from Super 7, of course. And let's do one more. Let's do a Hasbro figure so you can see what he looks like next to a 1/12 normal scale 1/12 figure. You can see he pretty much towers over Forge. So these guys do seem to be a little on the tall side for their scale, but again, he seems, like a hero type of character. These guys may be a little bit larger than average, so they'll be bigger than a lot of your normal 7-inch stuff, but should be able to be fit in relatively well too. Now, as far as accessories go, Strongheart comes with a pretty solid spread here. He's got a decent number of weapons, and there's a couple things in particular that I really, really like about this guy. So the first thing we're going to talk about, we don't get an extra head sculpt, again, because you get the face shield, so there's really no reason. It would have just been shield down or shield up, and there's no point in doing that. We do get 3 extra sets of hands, so he's got fists on him in the box. You get a set of wide gripping hands, which is mainly for this sword right here. You get a set of more tight gripping hands for his dagger and the shield. And then you also get a set of relaxed hands. So you get 8 total. We do get the sword and the sheath, the scabbard here. And I'm going to take it out because it hides something pretty cool. So we've got the actual scabbard here. And you can put your sword in it. And this is just sort of like a regular sword. There's nothing really crazy or exciting about the sword. Regular sword. Nothing too wild there. But it's got a dagger sheath wrapped to it. So he's got a hidden dagger on the inside, which I thought it was just a really cool idea. Maybe it isn't that exciting, but I thought it was kind of nifty. So that's really cool. So you get this whole, contraption here basically for the sword and the hidden sheath with the knife. He gets his shield, and this again is for what you would use one of those more tight gripping hands for, because it's got a really tight band here, so you'd want to get that hand in there really close. and then you can put the arm through here. So you've got that. Nothing too crazy about this either. He does have some pretty plain weapons. Compared to his overall look, his weapons are kind of plain, but I do like what he has. And then he does get a warhammer too, a smaller warhammer, and I really like this. So it's got, you know, like a faux leather strap so he could swing it, you know, if you could figure out a way to make him look like he's doing that. But it's gold and like dark brown, almost black. I really like this. This is, you know, this was pretty common in terms of, you know, this era of history in many ways, to have a warhammer type of weapon. And I think this is pretty neat, just to use something different that isn't a sword for our very, you know, normal sword-bearing paladin. So he does have a pretty solid spread. I will say that maybe Zarak's stuff in this wave is a little bit more exciting, just by virtue of him being an evil little gremlin. But this guy does have some really cool stuff. Strongheart has all like the normal, very stereotypical knight type of accessories. So yeah, overall, I think this guy is absolutely solid. I'm really happy with just about everything this figure has to offer. Again, I think he moves way, way better than you might have expected him to, just by virtue of, you know, clunky knight. Maybe he's not going to move all that well, but no, this guy can move. And he also looks terrific. My only real gripe about the overwhelming majority of the figure is I think that cape is just kind of weak when it comes to that wire. I wish I could get it to do a little more. And it's fine. It's not the end of the day. I just thought it would be a little bit more posable. But otherwise, I mean, he looks great. He moves well. He's got some really, really solid accessories. There's a lot of options when it comes to this figure. And I'm just happy to see more of this. I need more of these characters, because after having this wave, I am so much more excited about the prospect of getting other D&D type of characters like this. NECA is doing a really solid job here. So that's going to do it for this look at the NECA Toys Dungeons & Dragons Strongheart. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.